Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea Tranquility. Welcome to another episode, day 27 of albums that are 40 years old in 2022 as we look back on 1982, 28 days of February, 28 of my favorite albums from that particular year. You'll also get a bonus episode tomorrow with all of my honorable mentions. I'm not going to mention every single album that I kind of dig from that year, but I'm going to mention a good lot of them. Also, check out our new Monsters Den t-shirt, available at the link below in the video description. If you follow the Monsters Den show, you're going to want to have one of these. This is absolutely a spectacular, spectacular shirt that all of you horror fans are going to want to wear and help promote the Monsters Den show here on Sea Tranquility. All right, now, day 27, my 27th pick, actually my number 2 pick. All right, it's my number 2 favorite from the year. My top 3 are like neck and neck, and I debated back and forth with my top 2, and ultimately I went with the one for my number 1 where I don't think there's a weak second on the entire album. I don't really think there's much of a weak anything on my number 2 pick here either, but I had to favor one over the other, right? So this particular one, March 22nd, 1982, released on EMI Records in the UK, Harvest and Capitol Records here in the States, produced by Mr. Martin Birch, Mr. Heavy Metal himself. I'm talking about the 3rd studio album from Iron Maiden, The Number of the Beast. I bet you many of you thought that was going to be my number 1, right? I kind of did too. There were times during the month I was like, But I think, you know what it is? I think if we were talking about maybe back in the day when this album first came out, between this and my number 1, which you'll see tomorrow, I probably would have said this without question. But I think over the years, I just find I listen to my tomorrow pick a lot more, and I still really find it fresh and exciting. And this is still one of my favorite Maiden albums. It's still legendary, but I find I don't reach for this as much anymore. But I fully recognize the greatness that's on here, and there are some songs on here that are just like, just unbeatable, right? Of course, this is the line of Bruce Dickinson's first album with the band. In the lead vocal slot, replacing Paul Di'Anno. This is Clive Burr's last album with the band before being replaced by Nico McBrain. You've got Dave Murray and Adrian Smith on guitars. And, of course, the kind of de facto band leader, Mr. Steve Harris, on bass, right? So you've got Invaders, Fighters, Children of the Damned, The Prisoner, 22, The Avenue. 22 Acacia Avenue is perhaps my favorite Iron Maiden song of all time. I absolutely love 22 Acacia Avenue. You got Let him who hath understanding reckon the number of the beast, for it is a human number. Its number is 666. All right, Number of the Beast, title track. Great. Run to the hills, run to the hills. Gangland, and Hallowed Be Thy Name. Hallowed Be Thy Name is one of the greatest metal songs of all time, right? So, an incredible album. Pretty hard to beat. I'm sitting here thinking about it, and I'm like, wow, when I put this in at number 2. Yeah, because tomorrow's pick just... Anyway, we'll get to tomorrow. But yeah, this is great. I mean, this is a legendary Iron Maiden album. Not my favorite Iron Maiden album, though. It's close. I generally go for Peace of Mind when I talk about my favorite Iron Maiden album. But this is a top 3 Maiden album. Yeah, probably. I think for me, it's, and I don't remember how I ranked it, but I'm pretty sure because I haven't done a ranking show in quite a while, or it's been a while. I would think my top 3 are probably Peace of Mind, this, and Killers. I think are my favorite 3 Maiden albums. But, Power Slave is killer, of course. Somewhere Time is killer. The first album is killer. Seventh Son is killer. Brave New World is killer. I mean, Maiden's got so many great albums. But yeah, this is my day 27, essentially my number 2 pick from 1982. Let us know what you think of The Number of the Beast in the comments below, as well as your pick for today, for day 27. We got 1 day left, folks. 1 day left before we move into 1992. We're going to celebrate 30 years of some pretty cool albums from 1992. my favorite 31. I actually went, excuse me, and did the homework yesterday and put together my lengthy list of all the ones that stand out for me from 1982 across all genres. And probably today or tomorrow, I'm actually going to formulate my list of 31. And then I'll have my separate for honorable mentions at the end of the month. So it's funny because most people talk about, and I've done it too, that like the 90s was a complete wasteland for music, especially if you are into like, if you're not into like the popular hit charts type stuff, right? Because I think most of us who were like maybe into, hard rock or metal or whatever, moving into the 90s, all of a sudden a lot of our favorite hard rock and metal bands either broke up or decided to change their tune or went completely underground in favor of, grunge and alternative and new metal and dance music and rap, and the start of the country thing started in like the later 90s. So for a lot of us back in the day, I mean, me personally, I started listening to other stuff. I started listening to a ton of jazz. I got heavily into prog because I was like, everything that was kind of more mainstreamy, I was like, there's nothing happening here. But looking back and going through all of the album releases across all the genres, which I just did, there's a lot of really good albums that came out in the 90s. Maybe not a lot of really popular albums, for me anyway. So you're going to see some pretty, some stuff you may not be familiar with. And that's okay, I think, because hopefully for those of you who are of the opinion that the 90s sucked, hopefully I will give you some recommendations of stuff that I really like from the 90s that maybe you never heard of before, never listened to before. All right, because a lot of what I'm going to pick, a good chunk, are things that weren't, big sellers or, notable bands that you might know. There's going to be some, for sure, but there's going to be others, I think, that maybe things that just completely just passed you by, right? Because maybe you were kind of like me at the time, just got a little disenchanted with things during that decade. But, in the ensuing years, because it's 30 years ago, right, I've gone back and found lots of great stuff that came out in the 90s. Didn't really listen to them much at the time, or some I did, some I didn't. So it'll be an interesting exercise as I'm putting my list together. So thanks for watching. Visit us on the web at www.seaoftranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, of course, we're here on YouTube together all the damn time. Stay tuned. We've got album homework assignment coming up in just a little bit. Stephen Reed and Neve the Prog Nerd, right? We're finally getting those two together. It's been a couple of weeks, and that'll be happening in just a little while here this morning. In fact, in an hour. So stay tuned. Don't miss that. And visit us on the web at www.seaoftranquility.org. I think I already said this before. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Of course, we're here all the damn time together forever. Stay tuned tomorrow for the finale of albums that are 40 years old in 2022 as we get set to move into 1992 for albums that are 30 years old in 2022. I am Pete Pardo. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already and click on that notification bell. We'll see you later on. Take care. Bye-bye.